What up, everybody? Welcome to Harry Dating Convos. This is the show where we talk about love, dating, relationships, and everything else in between. I'm your host, as always, HarryWilmington. We're doing a Wednesday show today. Why are we doing a Wednesday show today? I had somebody that left a comment under one of my videos, and usually I do these shows on Saturdays, so I typically try to wait to Saturday. But given that he's actually actively dating this girl and a situation has arisen, I figured, you know what? I had a free afternoon. I'll do a Wednesday show. And so this guy wrote me pertaining to a woman he's been seeing for a while now, actually. He's written me several times about her. And just over time, there's been times when he's written me where I can tell his anxiousness and nervousness is sometimes getting the best of him. And so certain situations arise with this woman where she'll do something or act in a certain way that to me doesn't really seem like it's the biggest of deals. But to him, it's like, she's probably doing something nefarious. And so this message came in, and then this morning I woke up and I watched this woman on YouTube named Dr. Yudin. She's a very, very good psychologist. She has a lot of great videos talking about the psychology of people and dating and stuff like that. And she brought up a topic that I thought correlated well with what we're going to talk about today. And so I figured I just put it all together in one show. Just do it real quick. My voice is still recovering from when I was sick, so it won't be a long show, but we're going to talk about the things that he brings up and the things that she brings up, because this is one of those situations where, as a guy, if you're not careful and you're not able to really rein in your anxiousness and nervousness and change those things for the better of the relationship, there are ways in which the way that your anxiety comes out and is presented could over time by other parties be seen as abusive. And I'm not calling this guy abusive because I don't think he is that guy. But I think that guys oftentimes are very unaware of the things they're doing that the world at large is going to say is potentially abusive. And let's be real, anxiousness, nervousness, and projecting onto people can lead towards doing actions that actually are abusive if we as men are not careful to look at those things, analyze them, and say, wait a minute, is the way that I'm feeling about things causing me to go down this path that I don't want to go down unintentionally? And so I think that her video does a good job at painting the kind of anxiousness that can, if you're not careful, turn to being that way, even if it's unintended. And I'm on this channel all about trying to make sure guys are doing good things and positive things to get women. And that part of that means learning not only to be less anxious, but learning what behaviors you're unintentionally doing that, unbeknownst to you, could, by the other sex, be seen as red flags for them to stay away from you, even if you're in a relationship with somebody that actually would work out where you're not so anxious. So we'll go ahead and get into that. Let's jump into first what his message is. And actually, I'm going to read the whole message, but I'm going to start at I'm going to stop at the first part of the message, because he does bring up something that I feel as a guy I would not tolerate, and I don't think other guys should tolerate, and that's this thing of her being late. So let's go into his message. So the first part of this guy's message, he says, Coach, I have a question. I know you and I have talked about how people who put their phones on notification silent is common for work, etc. The other day, the girl I'm dating showed up 20 minutes late for our date, but I've noticed that sometimes she won't have the silence notifications on during the day, which is completely fine. But I noticed before she shows up, she'll turn it on. We'll get to that in a second. I talked to her about showing up late and how it's been happening more often. It's her day off when we see each other, so I don't get the lateness. So you guys know I am not a fan of anybody showing up late for a date, especially you as a guy. You're going to already show up because you're the one planning the date. You're spending money. You figure out the place to go. You put into some research into it, and you're just trying to show her a good time. So I find that me as a guy, I get very, very frustrated when I put in all that work and then the woman can't show up on time. Now, I get if it happens one or two times, work ran over, maybe she was trying to get something ready and last minute she couldn't find her wallet, or she couldn't find the makeup, she wanted to do whatever. I could see one or two times her getting away with that and being like, it is what it is. But when it starts happening multiple times, what's happening is that if you keep agreeing to her being late by way of continuing the date, then women will start to learn over time, well, he's just happy that I'm there. And so as long as I show up eventually, I know he'll be a good little boy and he'll sit there and wait for me. And we don't need women getting to the habit of thinking that you're going to be accepting of their lateness. So you can do with the following what you want to do. You don't have to do this at all. But I found that sometimes as men, we think we can negotiate or talk to women about something and, oh, they're going to just magically get it. Like, oh, I didn't know you felt disrespected when I did a thing. I'm going to completely stop. That's how it should be. But especially earlier on, like he's been dating this woman for a while, so I'm not giving her a pass on this. But early on, when you're dating somebody, you don't know each other enough. And so she might try to do things like be late just to see like where your head's at. Like, are you willing to wait for her? Do you feel as though her time is more valuable than your time? And I found that a way to squash that really quick is this. If I'm going on a date, I allow a grace period of 10 to 15 minutes of lateness for those first few times, whether it's traffic, whether it's they lost something on the way there. I say, you know what? I'll give a grace period of 10 to 15 minutes. If it gets to minute 15 and the woman that I'm going, that I plan a date with, that I've set aside my time for, isn't able to show up, I leave. Like I've literally been there waiting for women before where the woman didn't show up at 3:15 and I got up and I left. And she might get there at 3:20. Hey, Harry, I'm here. I left. Why'd you leave? Because you weren't here. But I was just running. Yeah, but this is like the second or third time. And especially when I didn't have a car, I couldn't understand how it was when I didn't have a car that I still managed to show up to every single date on time. And there would be women that just couldn't make it happen. Now, I would say some of that could be low interest, but also some people just don't have their lives together and aren't able to show up on time. And you know what? That is not your problem. Your issue is you are planning a date at the time that you have time to do that. And when she shows up late, she's disrespecting the fact that you could have other things planned beyond this date. You know, if you're a guy that has a work ethic where he's trying to work on various projects, or maybe you have a sick mother you're looking after and you got to pick her up from the hospital at like 8 o'clock and you set the date for 6 o'clock. So, you know, by 7:30, you'd be out of there and she wants to show up at 6:45. Women aren't taking into account that you have other things to do, but are you letting them know that? And most guys are afraid to let women know that. And when I say that, I mean, most guys, if a woman shows up late, oh, it's no problem. I'll stay there till 45 minutes after, as long as she shows up. And women can smell that you're desperate to get her attention to where she can just do whatever and you're going to still suck it up because you don't get enough girls and you got to make this work and you don't want to make her mad or whatever. And I found, no, make them mad. Make them get there and you not be there and then let her yell at you, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And I would just simply say, well, if you want to go out again, be on time next time. Like, that's the level that you need to get to where you realize you have self-worth, to where you're not going to let women do this kind of stuff. Because again, he's trying to talk to her rationally about it. I've just learned over time, you can talk all day, but sometimes women need to feel that. Women need to feel what it's like for you when they are leaving you hanging on a date. And so, yeah, after one time of doing that, I have found usually women are like, oh, my bad, I'll show up on time next time. Or they'll be like, how dare he? And they won't want to see me, at which point that's also fine because I can find somebody else that's going to be more on time and more respecting of my time, right? So I guess it's admirable that he wanted to talk to her about it, but I would have just been like, because he says this is like, she's done this several times. After the first time, the second time that I went on a date where she didn't show up on time, I'd have left. And then she'd have been there, where's going, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I told you last time, if you can't show up on time, that's fine. Either we do a better job of scheduling when you can show up, or we just stop dating. But like, I'm trying to plan stuff and I got other things in my schedule going on. So you assuming that I just have all the time in the world, wouldn't you agree that's like kind of rude? And then see how she reacts to it. So that's how I would handle that situation. So that's just the showing up late part, which doesn't really correlate with the rest of the message. So we'll start over. So he says, the other day, the girl I'm dating showed up 20 minutes late, but I've noticed that sometimes she won't have the silence notification on during the day, which is completely fine. But I noticed before she shows up, she'll turn it on. So he's mad at her because she's turning on her silence notifications when she gets there, I guess. He says, I talked to her about showing up late and how it's been happening more often. It's her day off when we see each other, so I guess I don't get the lateness. We just talked about that. She apologized as I was really not in the mood and it all started to get to me. Then I mentioned, and why every time before you show up, I notice your notifications are on, as sometimes I'm about to call or text to see if you're still coming soon as my time is valuable. She had mentioned because she's been talking to her family and expecting calls about her new apartment, blah, blah, blah. He literally writes blah, blah, blah. So she can't miss them. So I think it sounds like, I can't tell if he's saying that the problem is that she has her notifications on or she has them off, but her family's trying to contact her. So clearly it means that she must be having the notifications on. So he's bugged that she turns them on when she gets to him. The way he worded that is very, very confusing, but I'll continue on. So anyway, I remained as composed as possible, but she knew I was a bit bothered. Okay. She stayed for several hours. We hung out, had fun, hooked up, and she assured me that she would do better. I noticed that she has been keeping the notification off of silent during the day, which I never told her to do, but it seems like she's doing it to show me. So now now the notifications are no longer on silent during the day when I guess she's at her job or whatever. He says, but I notice she puts notifications silent at night. So when they're together, or even when she's by herself, and turns it back off in the morning. Now you're probably wondering, yeah, dude, it's nighttime. But the thing is, she gets off work at night and she's a night owl. She goes to bed really late and gets up early. I would think that she would much rather have the notification on silent once she's working, but turning them off after. It seems super sketchy. I need your honest opinion on this one. Am I tripping? I've been really working on my anxiousness, but this is eating me. I tried to make this short, but wanted to make sure I included everything. So it basically sounds like he's mad at her because, so at first he was mad because when she got to dates, she would turn off the silent notification in case she needs to be notified by family. And he was saying he didn't like that. So now she's doing a thing of at nighttime or when they're together, whatever, she's turning the notifications off, but she has them. Let me see if I get this right. She puts notifications silent at night and turns it back off in the morning. She's notifications silent at night. So the notifications are now on silent, and then so the notifications are back on in the morning. So now he's bugged that the notifications are on during the day, but then now when she comes to meet him, now they're off, and now he's bugged by that. So basically, he's either initially he was bugged because they were on when she came to see him, and now they're off when she comes to see him, and then he's saying that that's sketchy behavior. That's all really confusing, and those are really confusing instructions for a woman to get. Like either you're mad at her for having notifications on during a date, or you're not. But you can't tell her one day, hey, I'm mad at you for having notifications on, and then when we're having a date, and then she says, my bad, I'll keep them off. And I don't even know how you know that her notifications are on or off during the day. Like, unless she's telling you directly, like, if you're not with her during the day, how are you even knowing that that's a thing? But I digress. The point is that within this stuff happening, right, he's basically using her notifications being on or off as a litmus test. He's basically trying to, he's making a lot of assumptions about what it means when her notifications are either off or on. Now, the lateness part, hey, it's very easy for a guy to be like, if she's being late all the time, is she losing interest? Like, I don't know what's going on. But going from her notifications being on to being off to whatever, when she's with you or not with you or whatever, that's when a lot of assumptions are being made. And it's not necessarily about what she's doing with regards to her notifications being on or off. It's more so about how it's being interpreted and why it's being interpreted that way, because he's giving a lot of negative interpretation to, well, now her notifications should be like, I guess her notifications are now off when she's seeing me, but like also, why would she have them off? That's sketchy. Or let's say she's not over his place, right? So now he's thinking her notifications are off at night, but what if I need to contact her? I can't reach her, but then why would she have them off in the first place? Could it potentially be that she has another guy over and doesn't want notifications from me to come through so that guy knows. Like, again, these are the kind of assumptions that can start to be made, right? And again, this guy's been writing me for months now about this woman where he's had times where he's expressed being anxious or nervous about some of her actions when I've been telling him everything she's been doing up to this point has been net positive reactions that are indicators that she actually wants to be around you. She wants to only be with you. She wants to date you. She wants to invite you to things, all this other stuff. And yet, I don't know, because of the past he's had with previous dating partners or whatnot, it appears and feels like he can be very anxious or nervous about potentially things going in a negative direction and potentially her trying to still seek out other guys and potentially trying to cheat on them. And, in the dating realm, there's always the potential for that stuff to happen. I've just been a guy that's like, I understand that it doesn't behoove me to be constantly on somebody about what their actions mean and if they're trying to cheat on me and what they're trying to do. Like, it's just a very tiresome exercise. And I found me doing that is not going to prevent a person from doing that or not. But we'll get into more of that later. So I got that message yesterday and I was trying to figure out how to answer it. And then I got up this morning and I saw this video by Dr. Anna, who I said, again, I'm a big fan of Dr. Anna.
Oh, basically, this was a very...
And so she did this video where she just talked about assuming things in relationships in general and assuming the negative about people and how that could impact your relationship. But the first part of this video specifically talks about the subject that correlates well with what this guy was going through. So I'm going to play through her video and I'm going to stop and start along the way to give my insights about this. And then we'll get back to how this correlates with what this guy's going through. Here we go.
TikTok of a woman who was sharing how her abusive ex would often assume the worst of intentions and how basically this was a very subtle abuse technique. And it got me thinking about how making negative assumptions, or really assumptions in general, harms our ability to interact healthily with each other. Of course, if you're on the receiving end of this, if other people are making assumptions about you, that's pretty harmful. But I also want us to consider in this video that maybe we sometimes make assumptions about other people as well. So that's what...
Now, and she raised up that point about how, like, because I've been a person that's been in relationships where the person I was dating was making all these assumptions. And it's like, I could tell based on their actions and the way they were saying things to me and trying to give me certain directives that they had a certain feeling about things I was doing and the direction it could lead. I told famously about the girl I dated on here who was jealous of my female friends and my female cousin. And it's like, I don't know what she thought I was going to do with my female cousin. But the point is that whatever thing she had in her head was like, I want to trust him, but I just want to make sure that he's on the right path and not doing things with these other women, which I wasn't. But she had it in her head that could be a possibility. And therefore, she was trying to do everything she could to try to stop that. And for me, the person that wasn't doing anything, it just got really annoying. And it's one of those things where you start thinking like, I don't know how to more prove to you that I'm not trying to do these things that you're thinking I could possibly do. Like she's basically mad at future me for potential things I could do that I wasn't even thinking about doing, And so this is where it gets to the idea of like, I think that people, based on their past, based on self-esteem issues, based on whatever, if we're not careful, we can start to do this, but it never feels good when we get it back,
What this video is going to be about. So right off the bat, I think one way that assumptions harm relationships is assuming the worst of intentions in other people. Going back to that TikTok that I was talking about, this can be a subtle abuse technique. Now, why do abusers do this? Why do they tend to assume the worst of intentions of other people? Well, it's usually a projection, like with most things related to abusers. Abusive people are obviously hurtful by definition. That's what abuse does. It hurts people, but they don't accept that about themselves. So
now that's key. The part where she says, like, abusers, because there's this idea that like abusers are just purposely trying to be abusive. Like, oh, I just decided to go home one day and just slap my wife. I decided to just start yelling at my children and calling them B words and all this other stuff. And I don't think it's that cut and dry. Like, I think some people have a power trip, but I think a lot of guys, it comes from this thing of like, they're wanting clarity on something or they're trying to get a thing done and they don't know how to do that other than trying to forcefully push their narrative. And so to her point, especially people that have been hurt in the past, they might be trying to avoid hurt. And so they unintentionally start asking questions or asking their partner to do things that they're only asking based on the idea that they're having that, like, if I don't ask for this thing, I'm going to get hurt. Hey, if I don't tell my woman you can't hang out with your friends and family anymore, then she's going to go behind my back and talk about me in a bad way. And so the only way I know how to stop that is to make sure that I'm able to control who she's able to see and not see. Well, I want to make sure that my woman, cooks dinner the way I want to, but she's not doing it. So maybe if I push her into the kitchen, if I nudge her a bit, she'll do what I want to do. And then that starts the cycle unintentionally of you're abusing somebody and you never thought you'd be that person. But because you had these negative feelings about yourself, you projected them onto other people and tried to force your will and force your narrative. And now you're being seen as an abuser. And in your head, you're thinking, but I'm not that. I'm just you're trying to justify your actions because you figure if you justify them, people will see that you don't actually have any intention of harm. But having intentions of harm and being harmful can be two different things. You don't have to mean to hurt somebody to actually hurt somebody.
Instead, they project their hurtfulness onto other people, and it shows up in them assuming that other people have the most hurtful, nefarious of intentions, even in situations where they don't.
So let's use this guy's message as an example, right? So he's looking at, she's now turning off her notifications when she comes to see me. Now I've expressed to women in the past, I don't like when phones are on, or I don't like when I'm dating, I want to date with somebody and they get like a text or call in and then they take that call or text. It'd be different if we're in a relationship where we're seeing each other so much that like, that's not going to matter because I'm going to still see her more often than not. But if I'm on a date that I'm paying for and she's like allowing text and calls to come in and she's taking and looking at them and going on her phone, I'm going to feel disrespected. So if this woman came on a date with me and decided to turn off her notifications, I'd be elated. I'd be thinking she respects it. She wants to just focus her time and attention on me and her. In this case, she heard the note I said about the last time when I was like, hey, you having notifications on, kind of disrespectful. And she's actually listening to that feedback and having them off and is willing to take calls and stuff later. Like, that's amazing. And what he's reading it as is that seems sketchy. That I would argue is not the best way to take things because it goes from like, I feel like that sketchy behavior to doing what this guy did. Like, why are your notifications off? Or why are they on? Or when you see me and what's going on? And the woman's sitting there just thinking like, dude, like family's trying to reach out to me or I have other things going on. Like I didn't mean to intentionally disrespect you. And now that our notifications are off, it's the conversation of like, dude, you asked me to turn them off. And also like, I get it. You want my attention and time. So I'm trying to like not have interruptions. And also, my notifications are off when I go to sleep at home now because I want a good night's sleep. I don't want to get it interrupted. I don't want to be cranky in the morning. And he's taking it as, well, that means she's also not taking my calls and not getting my messages. And that must mean that she's trying to actually sneak out on me. Is that any way to live? Like, ideally, you're trusting the person that you date. And if you don't, why are you with them? Because it's really a taxing behavior for the person that has to do it to keep tabs. And it's a taxing behavior for the person receiving it to have to always be like, how do I prove to this person that I'm not trying to do anything nefarious? It's a hard thing to prove.
But it's not just abusers either. We all do this to some extent. When we're feeling particularly cynical or misanthropic, we tend to assume that people are doing things because of the worst of intentions. It's a form of attribution bias, where we assume that other people have really negative intentions anytime they do something that inconveniences us. But when we do something that inconveniences other people, we can recognize, oh, that's not actually the case. There's more at play here.
That's so true. Like, I think about, let's say I was this guy, right? So I go to my girl, I'm like, you have your notifications off. How dare you have them off? I feel that sketchy behavior, what's going on? But then I go to a movie one night and the movie say, turn off your phones. So I turn off my notifications. I wouldn't want my girl to be like, why did you turn your notifications off? Well, babe, I was at a movie theater. Well, what if I need to contact you? But they don't like noise in the theater. But how dare you? Like, at that point, I'd be like, why is she tripping? But wasn't I just tripping on her about having her notifications on and off? So it's interesting because both men and women do this. They do this thing where they don't understand how the other sex could do a thing, even though when they do the exact same thing, they're able to suddenly justify why that behavior is necessary. And she's going to point out a thing that illustrates this perfectly.
Than just assuming the worst of intentions. And that's why it's really important to give people the benefit of the doubt and to generally be charitable with the assumptions we make about their intentions. Because it prevents...
Oh, you know what? I cut out that part of the video. So basically, does a brief example where she says, like, if she's in the slow lane and her car, which is a smart car, isn't able to like drive up the hill really fast, if she's in the left lane, her car slows down and people assume she's purposely trying to drive slow to be an a-hole when it's really just no, her car slows down. But then if she's in traffic and she comes across somebody that is slow in their lane, she also starts thinking like, how could they do this thing? So she points out that like on some level, we're all hypocritical to this point, that like we can't see how another person could do a thing until we do it ourselves. Okay.
Unnecessary misunderstandings. If you're going into an interaction with someone and you assume that they have the worst of intentions and they really don't, then you're going to set yourself up for a conflict that could have been avoided if you had instead approached it from the lens of like, hey, what are your intentions? Help me understand.
And that's what guys should be doing. Everybody should do it, but this is a guy channel. So yeah, when you're dating somebody, if you notice some kind of behavior that maybe you're like, it seems sketchy, and your brain's already jumping to like the worst conclusion, the worst thing you could do is go to that person and then present your evidence as if they've already done the worst conclusion. A better way is to just be like, hey, by the way, just a question. Like, I noticed as of late, you keep your notifications off at night. Like what caused that change? Like, that's a better way to go into it, of being inquisitive and giving them the benefit of the doubt and allowing them to prove to you of their own accord without pressure that, oh, I just like to get better sleep now, or, oh, I just noticed that like having my phone on that much isn't really great. I saw a YouTube video about how having your phone off at night and kind of having it in another room is a lot better. So I'm doing that. Like, let them come to you and give an explanation versus just saying, and how dare you have your notifications off? Are you just trying to ignore me, this and that? Like, going to a person and just automatically accusing them of things, whether they're doing it or not, is not going to make them want to give you an explanation that's going to make you feel any better.
Also, when we assume the worst of intentions about people, it automatically puts that person on the defensive. So even if they didn't have ill intentions, now they might genuinely be angry and they might want to get into a conflict with you. Giving others the benefit of the doubt also kind of allows you to treat others how you would want to be treated. Because again, if you were stuck in a really slow smart car, wouldn't you want people to be a little bit charitable with you, to assume, okay, maybe this person's not trying to be an asshole, maybe there's something else at play here? And lastly, I think it actually encourages people to have better intentions, because treating someone like they are a bad person can sometimes turn into a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, kids, for instance, that are always told, you're such a bad kid, you always do this and that wrong, they sometimes manifest that for themselves because they've been told it for so long, they start to internalize it. So,
by the way, that's a generally good note for anybody. Like, I've definitely seen it where, like, you know, that one kid that gets into a little bit of trouble, his parents be like, oh yeah, he's the troublemaker, he's the wild child, he's this and that. And then I remember just a personal example, right? When I was in middle school, I was called the weird kid because I mean, admittedly, I was doing ninja kicks through the hallway. I watched a lot of like funny cartoons and would quote them all the time, all over everybody else. So it's like people started calling me weird, and then me being the weird kid, I was doing everything I could to live up to that reputation. Now, in hindsight, was everything that I was doing completely weird? Not really. But in that environment, I was like, they're going to call me weird. I'm going to be the weird kid. That is my mantle. I made it a point to like be the weird kid that stood out from everybody and whatever. And it's like, because that was the label that I got. And so this is why for parents in general, you have to be really careful about the things you say to kids, because if you're giving kids an identity, all they're going to want to do is figure out how to live up to that identity. But in terms of later relationships, yes, I found it's true. Like, there are people I know that they would never be the person to cheat on their significant other, except for that other person was constantly accusing them of wanting to cheat, of wanting to go out there. And then so when they do it, the person's now shocked. How could they cheat on me? It's like, but you've been saying for like several years now that you thought they were cheating. They just decided to give you what you wanted. So I just believe in, like, you don't talk into existence the things that you don't want in your relationship. So to this guy that wrote me, if you don't want your woman cheating on you or doing nefarious things, A, don't accuse her of nefarious things, and B, don't try to talk up to her as if she's already doing them, because then it could be a thing where she's just like, you know what, he can't tell me what to do, and then she starts doing it, and now you're upset and mad, but you're actually talking to existence things that you don't actually want.
So we have so much to gain from assuming positive intentions of people and clarifying if we're not sure what their intentions are. And if they actually have malicious intentions, you can clear that up by having an open conversation about it. You don't need to automatically assume that that's the case. That's something that you can discover through a process of exploration. On the other hand, if you just assume the worst of intentions, again, that's going to lead to conflict, to defensiveness. It might actually manifest that outcome, whereas assuming their intentions are good and then finding out you were mistaken just brings you clarity.
Now, for people that are nervous or anxious or have had hard relationships before in the past, that last part that she said about just trying to assume the best, that can be an admirable thing to reach towards, but a very hard thing to actually practice, because your nervous system up to this point has dealt with some stuff that has made you on edge about dating anybody. And unfortunately, that's not very fair to the people you date in the future, but our bodies don't care about what's fair. Our bodies care about protecting ourselves at all costs. And so our bodies can start to go into overdrive about overanalyzing what every single movement and thing means as it pertains to this other person and what they're trying to do and what their intentions are. Even if they swear up and down that they love us and they care for us and they have nothing but the best intentions for us, our nervous system is saying, hold on, I got to be wary. And so I have some notes here because I wanted to talk about some of the stuff we just saw here. So she talked about attribution bias, which is basically when somebody inconveniences us, we assume the worst. So in this guy's case, this woman and her notifications on the phone is triggering things in him that are making him feel that suddenly he can't trust her for whatever reason, right? And so she could have no intentions of anything. You know, whether her notifications are on or off, she's just trying to live her life. She has them on for certain reasons, off for certain reasons. But him assuming the worst, ultimately that can play out as a double standard because, again, there could be times where he turns off his notifications and he wouldn't want her calling him out for some stuff when he's not actually trying to do anything, you know? So you have to ask yourself, are you extending to your partner the same grace that you would want extended to you? So if you're a person that turns off your notifications, wouldn't you want your partner to ask questions about that versus just accusing you of doing the absolute worst thing? My guess is the answer would be yes. So then is it fair for you to then go to her and then say, hey, I don't trust you because your notifications are kind of wonky and what's going on? That's not going to be beneficial to you. And it's not going to make her feel like you actually trust her. Like I said, up to this point, I haven't seen any action from this particular woman that he's dating that indicates that she's doing anything that is not trustworthy. Okay. Secondly, understand that when you assume the worst, it makes people very defensive. And here's my thing, right? Is that oftentimes people put in these positions are being asked to prove a negative that they can't prove. So for example, he gets upset because her notifications are off at nighttime, right? What is that saying? What that's saying is he's thinking that maybe she's doing some stuff behind his back. How does she prove that? Like, unless he has a camera on her 24 hours to show where she's at all times, she can't prove a negative. She can't prove that she's not doing something when she's not in his presence. And that's going to only frustrate him more because he's not going to ever get a finite, definitive answer that proves once for all she's not doing anything. And it's going to frustrate her because, again, she can't prove she's not doing that. Like, she can just say, look, bro, I go home and sleep. I hope you trust me that I'm in my bed at sleep, but you can't show me that for sure. Okay, I'll send you a picture. But after that picture, I don't know if after that picture you then go out to some other dude, or maybe that guy's not in the picture in the frame, but he's in the room at the same time. Like, I need to have a 360 camera on you at all times. Like, that's going to drive any woman in freaking sane. And it's not fair to her to have to be put in a position to have to do that. So here's the thing. A few points I want to make. First off, understand that having anxiety and having any kind of self-esteem issues, whether they're low, neutral, whatever, it can skew your lens of what's going on, especially if you've been a person that's in the past that has dealt with any kind of dating trauma or any kind of insecurities or any kind of woman that may have cheated on you before. Especially if that's happened, then understand you're going to be hyper vigilant when it comes to looking for any kind of little tidbit of thing that could prove that this person is possibly trying to step out on you or cheat on you or talk bad about you or whatever, right? And so what's going to happen is you're going to be looking for red flags everywhere, even in locations where they do not actually exist. So this guy, it's the notifications thing. Hey, your notifications are on. What's going on? Oh, now they're off. What's going on? Like, either way, she's in a box where it's like, so regardless of what my notifications are doing, he's not going to trust me. How do you prove a negative? How does she get out of that situation where she can't prove either way that nothing's going on or whatever, because whether she turns her notifications on or off, you're suspicious or upset about her for some reason. She can't win. When you put people in a I can't win situation, they're more likely to lose interest and want to start leaving you and start cheating on you. Another thing, you calling out someone without any evidence, it can feel to them like a trap. Like I said, he's like, why are your notifications off? Why are they on? Why are you late? What's going on? It can start to feel like everything, it can start to feel to them like everything you're doing is putting forth a test to them to prove their loyalty to you. And I know as a guy, we get very frustrated when women are nonstop testing us. So why you would then want to put a woman through the same exercise is beyond me, because people don't want to be consistently tested. Yes, there will be times early on in the relationship where you might throw a few tests out here and there to test their character, to test their behavior or whatever, but that can't go on long term, because the person that you're with is going to be like, dude, I've been put through the ringer. Can you please just trust me? And as I say, if you cannot trust your partner enough to not be testing them all the time, what are you even doing with them? And that speaks to, sometimes it could be the person you're with, but a lot of times it's just us. It's us feeling negative about ourselves. It's our traumatic past. And it's us trying to project all that onto another person in the way that we think is healthy. We think, I'm just asking a question about where you've been, or asking a question about who's on your phone, or I just want to look through your phone because we're dating each other. We have nothing to hide, so I should be able to look, right? And again, we're not aware how that can come off as us potentially being abusive and controlling and not trusting and causing people to wonder why we're even with them if we can't have an ounce of trust with them. And so another thing too, understand that trying to control somebody, ultimately it prevents peace in your relationship. Like you trying to monitor notifications and trying to monitor, why her phone's on silent at this time of day versus not this time of day and whatever. It's all very exhausting, but more importantly, none of doing that stuff is going to actually prevent cheating. Like, I don't understand how people think they can, if they monitor somebody enough, if they're around them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that this person still can't go out and cheat. Like, you could literally be monitoring a phone. You could have a tracking device on her phone where you were able to locate where she is at all times, and she could still manage to be able to cheat on you. It is a thing whereby, as much as we wish we could control it, we cannot. Now, I actually find that to be relaxing, because that means that if I know that the person that I'm with could cheat on me at any given time and that anybody could do it, then that lets me know me monitoring every woman that I date is not an exercise. It's not necessary for me to do, because all I can do is show up the best I can and assume that I can trust them until they actually give me a reason not to. I find, honestly, most people that are cheating, eventually they're going to slip up. You're going to find a message. You're going to see something, a leftover condom wrapper at your place that's not yours, or lipstick on something, or a receipt in their car. The point is that most people aren't all that great at hiding that they're cheating long term. Inevitably, you're going to find out. And let me ask you a question. If you find out that they're cheating, whether you were spying on them all the time and found it out, or you weren't spying on them and then you just happened to come across one day, oh, they're cheating on me, are you going to feel any different whether you knew it's going to happen for a long time or not? I found the answer is no. I found that regardless of when you find out that they're cheating on you, it's going to suck. And I think the problem that most guys have is they think they can prevent the pain of cheating if they're able to preemptively catch it and find out it's happening by asking a bunch of questions and monitoring. And spoiler, it doesn't get any better just because you were able to preemptively catch it. All right. But that means that you should take the burden of trying to figure out if a person is cheating off of your plate, because it's not going to feel good whether you find out about it early or not. And you're not going to be able to stop it from happening, whether you're monitoring them nonstop or not. It is an exercise in futility. And unfortunately, guy, you cannot prevent it from happening. The case of this guy, right? Let's say one day he finds out that the reason she was silencing her phone at night was because she was cheating. Okay, great. I caught you. Are you going to feel any better? Or let's say she decides to dump you because you were suspecting her of keeping her phone silent at night because you thought she was cheating, and she wasn't cheating. Now you've lost a great girl off of some suspicious crap that wasn't even happening. And whether it was happening or not, you were never going to be able to catch her doing it. So that's why I say it's a pointless exercise. But this also speaks to a lot of times guys that are hung up on this are guys that don't feel in their heart of hearts that they can get better. That, you know, I'm at the frame of mind at this point in my life where it's like, if I'm with somebody and they cheat on me, my reaction is, oh, that sucks. I thought we had something. Okay, well, let me get back out there. Like, it's like a day of like, I can't believe, oh my God, why me? Ego, how dare she leave me, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, at the end of the day, if she was going to cheat now, it's better I find out now than later. We are all able to do the things we want to do and be with the people we want to be with. If she cheats on me, it just gives me intel. She didn't want to be with me anymore. Fine. But I'm not going to try to like be in a relationship and be questioning nonstop. So where are you going today? Who are you going with? Why aren't you answering your phone? What's going on? Like, it's just pointless. It's these pointless exercises that we've convinced ourselves are going to get us, it's going to make people want to act right if we're constantly on them. Oh, I didn't know you were monitoring me. I'm going to be right. I'm not going to ever cheat on you or do anything wrong or whatever. That's not what happens. What happens is the person that you're doing that to is going to get annoyed and frustrated and angry. And then what's going to happen is, like I said, like the girl said, you're going to inadvertently talk them into doing the thing you don't want them to do. Because what's going to happen is they're going to talk to some coworker at work. Oh, my boyfriend's always on me. He doesn't trust me. Oh, we should talk about that at the after work happy hour. I'm so glad I'm able to open up to you and I can trust you. Oh, and then they're making out. And now, why did she go with that guy? Because that guy wasn't pestering her and questioning her character, which ironically made her not want to have good character towards you. Is it fair? Life ain't fair. I'm just saying that you pushing her and accusing her of things that aren't actually happening or that you have no actual proof of is also not fair. So here's the thing, right? At the end of the day, I'm like this. If you can't trust the woman that you're with, just leave her. Like, don't put the burden on her to have to constantly prove to you that she's not doing a thing. And here's the thing, right? Is that if you are with somebody that you can't trust, yes, you should leave them. But if you find that you just can't trust any woman, like every woman you're with, you're questioning why they're going out with their girlfriends, or you're questioning why she's putting her phone on silent, or why she won't show you certain text, or why X, Y, and Z, then you really got to look at what parts of yourself are unhealed that you need to really look at and see why it is you're constantly questioning every woman that you date. Why is it you can't trust any woman to be alone by herself without you wondering, is she really by herself, or is she waiting for another guy to get there? Is she really with her girlfriends, or is she going to a strip club with them and then trying to hit on some other guys? Like, it's just, I just find as an older guy, I don't have the patience to do that anymore. I never really did it in the first place, but I was never really a guy that was like overly jealous. And I was always just kind of like, again, people do what they want to do. If I'm with a girl and I find out, oh, she actually is messaging another dude, I can just be out. Like, I don't need to feel bad. I don't need to have my ego hit. Like, oh, I thought she would never do that to me. Why would she do that to me? I'm such a great guy. The reality is women go women. And sometimes that means they're going to do some stuff that's nefarious, just like guys do it also. But I'm looking at this guy. I'm looking at the girl he's been dating for nonstop for a while now. Aside from her being late for a few things, which I don't think is respectful, I think that does need to be handled. But I think in terms of her silencing her phone, not silencing her phone at certain times of the day, that is an example of something that you could try to monitor that and try to read into it all day, but it's not fair to her. And also, again, I don't think this guy's trying to be abusive. I don't think this is necessarily in the moment abusive behavior, but this is the kind of thing that can start to spiral into, well, why are you going out with your girlfriends and not inviting me along? And so why can't I look into your phone and just blah, blah? Like, it can slowly turn into abusive kind of behavior, in part because we're projecting insecurities onto this other person, assuming that they need to be the ones to make us feel good about ourselves and solidified in this by proving to us all the time that they're not cheating. And it's not the burden of the woman we're with to have to prove nonstop to us that she's not doing a thing. It's just not fair to anybody in a relationship to be put in that position. So I would say that ultimately a healthy relationship is not about you trying to catch a person before they do something to you. Ideally, you're with somebody that you're able to trust. And if you see that you're not able to trust them all the time, trust but verify, but also look at why it is you've become so untrusting of every woman that you're with. You might realize I have some unhealed parts of me that don't allow me to be as open and don't allow me to be as trusting of women as I'd like to be. And hey, there are plenty of videos on YouTube right now that will give guys reasons to not trust women. Tons of ones about like, oh, women want a guy that's 6 foot X, Y, and Z. Women cheat far better than men do also. So I get why by being on the internet, you could be even more apprehensive and anxious about women really wanting to be with you and really not trying to cheat on you. But that's no way to live your life, and that's no way to be in a relationship. Now, if you need more help with that, you can always sign up for one-on-one coaching. You can go to HarryWilmington.com, sign up for my Get Girls Academy, and we can talk about this kind of stuff to get you in the headspace to be more trusting that you're doing the best you can and that women are seeing that and are choosing to be faithful to you and to be trusting of you and to only want to be with you. And if you don't feel those things, I feel sorry for you, and you need to get those things handled. But hopefully, with respect to this guy, I would say, in terms of your direct question to me, I think you are tripping. And I think that if you notice that your anxiousness is eating at you, again, this speaks to what is it that you've gone through in the past that is leading you to consistently always be anxious, because that is a nervous system trait. And unfortunately, our nervous systems keep the sins of our past, and they can be very, very hard to get rid of. I don't think right now your girl's doing anything nefarious, but if you feel that she is, then I would look at that. I don't think that she is at the moment. So that comes to, you need to really second guess and question yourself about what's going on. And I hope I'm not proven wrong. I hope in the future, there's not a message, hey, Harry, turns out she was cheating the whole time. But even if that does happen, I would say you being nervous about it now, whether she ends up, you find out later in the future she was cheating or not, you having nervousness and anxiousness about it nonstop is not beneficial to you or the relationship. You worrying all the time is not going to stop the inevitable from happening. You worrying all the time is not going to make her not want to cheat or whatever. Like, it's just not a good place as a guy to be. So consider some of what I said. Hopefully some of what I've said has helped you out. And so we actually have a question. We have a question in the chat. So I'll take the question. So we have a question in the chat, and the question goes, in the bedroom, if her legs shake, is that typically a good sign she's enjoying herself? Ha ha, that's funny. Yes. Also, what are some other general physical signs that you are performing well? Thank you. I also, this is a serious question. So other signs that you're performing well in the bedroom, because, I think guys get hung up on this thing that women are trying to fake it, and that they're, and hey, to their credit, bravo. Women can actually be really, really good at faking orgasms and trying to make a guy feel as though she's pleased, even though he's really not. So for one, I'll say this. If I, in the beginning of dating somebody, I'll just blanketly be like this. Look, I don't assume I'll be the best. I mean, I think I'm pretty good. Bragging rights, I think I'm pretty good. But that said, I also recognize that every woman you get with is different. They're going to like different things, and they're going to be into certain things that maybe the previous girls were not. So one girl might be all into like boob play, and then the other one is like, I'm too sensitive there. It is what it is, right? So I'm just like, I've always been the person that's like open to learning. So I'm like, I don't assume off the bat it's got to be the best. And to be fair, to women's credit, most women are like, if I feel a bond and a connection there, then I can deal with that being the thing that satisfies me in the bedroom. And then I can teach him along the way how to get me to orgasm. And so I've just been a guy that's like, look, real talk, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm open to learning what you like about yourself, what places you like being touched, what your likes are, your dislikes, what angles you like, what ways you like to be touched in certain areas, for how long, this is and that. And so I never assume on those first 4 or 5 sessions that we're hooking up that I'm going to get into orgasm. I just assume that I'm a willing participant that's willing to learn and get them there. But also, part of a woman being able to get to orgasm is really, really having a high interest in a guy and being all the way attracted to where he's now part of her fantasy. At the point that you become part of a woman's fantasy life, that's really when the orgasms are going to hit, because part of her being really getting off is the mental aspect. Like the physical aspects, great, fantastic, but you can do all the physical things right, but if that mental part's not there, then she's just going to have a good time, but not feel the full connection she needs to really get to orgasm. So that said, at the point you're able to do that, I find that it's really hard for women to fake twitching. Like if their legs twitching, if their whole body's going into convulsions and stuff like that, it's really hard. I know this thing about women being able to like scream and whatever, but I found it's almost the opposite. It's like when women start gasping, like to where they're like, they feel like they're halfway gasping for air. That's the thing that like the orgasm is so good they can't even let out a sound because it's like their body feeling and sensation, their voice has to catch up to that. So it's like there'll be moments, for example, where like maybe you're hitting it a certain way and she'll be like, she's making all the noises, and then you'll see her go silent, but her mouth is still open and it sounds like she's halfway choking, or she's like and like that is a sign that it's really hard for women to fake that part in particular. At least I have found, So I would say the twitching and the lack of noise where she's almost gasping for breath are two really, really good signs. But then also, here's the thing. As a guy, you should never go fishing for compliments from a woman about how good of a job you did. Like when you're done, don't be that guy that's like, so how'd I do? Or, oh, was that good for you? Don't do that crap. Like if anything, you just finish up, and then this is really just too much detail, but like I find you got to like get up and go wipe yourself off, because like if you're, whether using a condom or not, there's going to be mess there. You're going to want to wipe yourself down, but you get up, wipe yourself off, come back to the bedroom, and then just cuddle up with her. And again, don't seek out any compliments. Don't seek out, I did a good job, this and that. I have found that if you don't fish for compliments, women that had a good time will be all about telling you the good time they had and why it was so good. Oh my God, that was amazing. Like, oh my God, the way you just did this thing, and then you used your fingers this way, and then you licked me like that. Like, oh my God, like she'll give you feedback about what she liked. Why? Because she wants you to do it again in future hookups. So those are 3 ways that I have found are really ways to be able to tell as a guy that you're doing a good job. Again, leg twitching, body twitching, her gasping for breath, and then at the end, her being like, oh my God, guy, nobody's ever this, blah, 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 blah. If you don't fish for it, let her be the one to put out there how good of a job you did, why it was so great, why it was so wonderful, and that'll be authentic intel you're getting versus not. Now, I will say this too. If you find you don't get any intel like that, again, humble yourself. Don't just assume you did a great job. I find cuddle time post-sex is the best time to be like, oh, so that was really great. It's like, now that we've done that, I'm just curious to like, so what things like really like get you off? Like what finger motions, what licks, what parts of the body? Like, I want to learn about you, babe. Like what zones are just the zones to zero in on? The woman will be so flabbergasted that you asked her, because most guys assume they're doing a good job and don't ask the questions. So you going in there and being willing to ask the questions, she will be more than happy to start taking your hand saying, so I like when you touch like this, or like you did this thing, but maybe do it like this instead, or you were licking me like this, but like try licking in circles. Like they'll instruct you. So now you're having post-coital instructioning. And keep in mind, women can go and go and go. So assuming she didn't orgasm, she's going to be more than happy to go back into, let me show you what things to do that can get me to orgasm. And then as she's showing you and you're practicing them, oh my God, you might slip up and in the course of your practicing on her, give her an orgasm. Like, oh my God, that's right there. I keep doing that thing. Oh my God. And now you get to learn. So always be open to accepting criticism, be open to letting women tell you what it is that they want, and you'll make everybody in the bedroom happy ever after. Just saying. So hopefully that answered your question. Anyway, guys, that's all I got for today's show. Thanks for watching. I'm HarryWilmington. If you need more help about this kind of stuff, you can go to HarryWilmington.com. Check out my ebooks, my audiobooks, my new program, Get Girls Academy, which is a membership program that houses some of my best courses. Also, on July 1st, my new book is coming out called, it's a book on how to handle approach anxiety, to where you can basically like approach a woman in any situation. And I give you the tips, tools, and tricks to be able to do just that. So you will no longer have anxiousness, and you will know exactly what to do when you see that hot woman in the party or out in the open that you want to approach, and you know how to do it without freaking her out. So that book comes out on July 1st. All right. That's all I got for today, guys. I'm HarryWilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Hey there, thanks for tuning in to Harry Dating Convos. Don't forget to visit HarryWilmington.com to download my free ebook, Texting Women Like a Boss. And while you're there, if you're ready to take things to the next level with your dating life, check out the Get Girls Academy membership program for exclusive strategies and live coaching. Go to HarryWilmington.com to learn more and join today. Lastly, if you've got a question you'd like answered on one of these shows, leave a comment below or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.